She pointed and said, "Mama." I would ask them why they put politics above humanity. President Putin, you can't take that away from me.
Katrina, first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to talk to me. I know it's difficult to tell the story over and over again, but I believe it's important for Natasha and for other Russian orphans who lost connection with their potential families. So thank you.
You're welcome.
In your Facebook post, you say that this particular year is a turnaround one. Natasha has just turned 16 and there is no longer any chance for her to come here. Can you explain why?
The USA has an foreign adoption policy that states that once a child turns 16, they are no longer allowed to be adopted from a foreign country. Now, if she was in the U.S. foster care system, that would be different. You are allowed to adopt, at least up to age 18. But in foreign countries, I don't know why. I just know that they shut it off at age 16.
Do you think there is still any hope? What could help Natasha?
Well, I have heard that there is a law in Russia right now. They've been trying to pass a law for the last 6 years that has to do with guardianship of children who are, we call them wards of the state. So right now, because of Natasha's mental ability, she's not allowed to make decisions for herself. So even once she becomes 18, a NGO, a charity organization, is not allowed to come in and help her unless a law is passed that says that private citizens can help, children of the state once they're actually, adults.
Can you please describe how you have stayed in touch with her all these years? I know you've been sending her dresses as Christmas gifts every year.
Yes. So it started back in 2013. I was on Facebook and I found her orphanage's Facebook page. And then I also was in contact with an organization called Downside Up. And I reached out to Downside Up to find out if maybe they had somebody that they knew who could adopt her. And they said, unfortunately, they only work with families whose children, are biologically theirs, and that they didn't have the resources to do that. But then they put me in contact with a producer who was doing a documentary about the van. And he asked if he could come and interview my family. And then I ended up going back to Russia also, although at the time I didn't realize I was going to do that. But I had just put out on Facebook, because I got in contact with other Russian people, I just said, hey, does anyone know how I should mail these gifts? And a journalist named Maria contacted me and she said, don't mail them, they'll get stuck in customs and I will find somebody to take the gifts for you. And so she did. She found somebody and they went from DC and then to Poland and then to Moscow and then from there on a train to St. Petersburg. And those volunteers, they had like a little party for Natasha's little group of children and stuff. So every year, the same volunteers, it's changed a little bit, but there's always somebody willing to take the gifts from the DC area on a plane. They usually go to Moscow first and then finally make their way to St. Petersburg. And then they end up in Peterhof at her orphanage.
Have you ever received any feedback from her? I don't know, any notes, or maybe they just told you how she reacted, what she said?
Yes, I have lots of videos and photos from when they go. And there is a volunteer at her orphanage who during the year will send me photos and videos of, they have a lot of, like on Children's Day, they have a big party for the children. They have, the Orthodox Christmas, they'll have a party. So I usually get some sort of updated photos. Probably my favorite, though, is there's a photo, and you may have seen it on my Facebook post, where it's a photo of her wearing last year's dress that I sent, but then also 3 of the previous dresses were hanging next to her, and she was showing how she still has those dresses. And so that made me feel really good to know that the orphanage acknowledges that those are her dresses, and that they came from me. We only met her the one time, for 3 days. In July of 2012, we were there, my husband and I, when we were there to accept the referral for her. And so we spent 3 days at the orphanage with her. So that's the only personal contact I've ever had with her, was over 9 years ago.
Do you think she remembers?
I was told, so I had someone contact me that helped me write a children's story. It's called Natasha and the Christmas Wish. And it's basically the story of these wonderful people who were able to take the first time I took cats. And a couple years ago, the book was also translated in Russian. And so they took a copy for her. And the volunteer who was reading it with her turned the pages, and there's a photo of me. Well, it's a drawing, of me and her together. And she pointed and said, "Mama." So, so there's her mental capacity is not really high, but there's still a connection that she remembers. So. And
what about your kids? Do they think of Natasha as a sister? Is she a part of your family, even virtually?
Yes, she is. They like to see the pictures that are sent to us. Her stocking is still hanging downstairs on the mantle with everybody else's Christmas stocking. And my boys are older now. They're married. As a matter of fact, I'm a grandma now, just this last year. So I have grandbabies now. And so, they have families of their own. They don't live here anymore. But my 14-year-old daughter was adopted from U.S. foster care. And for years, she would ask, when she was younger, "Do you think the judge will ever let Natasha come home?" Or, why wouldn't he let her come home? And they were hard questions for me to answer. And so now she'll just stop by when I get a picture, and she'll say, "Oh, how old is she now?" Or, how is she doing? Or, "Oh, that was a cute dance," because like the orphanage sent us a video of her dancing in a dance program. And so.
Do you remember the moment you met her?
Yes.
How was it?
It wasn't what I pictured it was going to be. But she had been outside playing. They only get so much time outside playing. And they made her come back inside. And she was mad. We gave her some toys, and she dropped them, and she ran out of the room. And so we said, well, we'll go to the playground with her, because it wasn't what we were expecting. You expect this child is going to be excited to see us, and she was not. But we got outside, and my husband blew up a big beach ball, and she came over. But what was interesting or sad, I'll always remember this, is she had dropped some of the toys, and I bent down to pick them up, and all the other children from the group ran up to us. Sorry. They were touching our faces, and they were saying, "Mama, Papa." And in my heart, I'm like, the little girl I'm supposed to be adopting just ran from me. But we got her to come back over, and that was just the first day. But by the third day, we had seen some behaviors that we weren't sure were going to be a good fit for our little girl at home. So we wanted to kind of spy on her on the playground. So we were way up on this staircase. And this time we told him, don't tell her we're here. We want to watch. And all of a sudden she saw us. So this is the third day. And she sees us, and she comes running from the playground into my arms and put her arms around my neck. And she did not want to let go. They were trying to pull her away, and I said, "No, it's okay. We'll watch her, when she's ready to be watched." So by by the third day, she knew that, hey, these people are here for me, and I can have somebody special in my life, too.
What have you dreamt about for Natasha? Did you have any picture in your head of what her life would be like?
Well, a couple years ago we moved, but before that we lived in San Diego, around San Diego, in between there and Anaheim. And that's where Disneyland is. And we had passes for Disneyland. And so anyway, we went all the time. And I had thought, hey, this would be great for her to be able to go to Disneyland with us. Also, my son, when he was in high school, he was in plays, theatrical, like The Little Mermaid. And he was in a play, and there was a little girl in high school who had Down syndrome. And she was in the play too. And I imagined for Natasha that she'd be able to go to that high school and be a part of the community. Because in the U.S., the children with special needs, they go to the same high school as the typical children.
Yes, and their life is completely different than in Russia.
Right.
Yeah. If a miracle could happen, how would you spend the first day with Natasha? Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, I just thought of just being able to take her to the park. Again, she loved being out in the park with me and my husband when we were at the orphanage with her. She just liked running around. And so I just imagine going. We have a lot of beautiful parks. I'm in Utah now, and there's a lot of nature parks with ducks and deer, moose that you can see far away. So I just imagine taking her outside and letting her run around.
I have one more hypothetical question. If you meet Putin or any other Russian politician who was involved into implementing that law, what would you tell them?
Well, I would ask them why they put politics above humanity. Why not allow these children to have a chance at a family? Because that was 9 years ago, and she could have had a chance to grow up in a family. And it's sad to think. I understand for the other children. I do agree that children who live in one country should be able to stay if possible. I agree that if children who should stay with their birth families if it's possible. But sometimes adoption is the only option for these children, and it shouldn't have mattered what country I was from, because we had the resources to be able to help her. And she lives in a very good orphanage, which is good, but it's not the same as a family. Even the orphanage director will tell you it's not the same as a family.
Of course. Thank you very much, Katrina, and I wish you and Natasha and your family good luck. I still wish you good luck. There is still a hope.
Yes, yeah, there's hope for her that that she'll have a good life. Still, we're still working on it, and so and she'll always be my daughter in my heart. So Russia government, President Putin, you can't take that away from me.
Thank you.
Thank you.